Welcome to month 7. It's called Rising Star. Sorry this one's so late. I didn't even get it in the mail until the 20th, and at that point there was no way I could get it done before Christmas. But I hope you all had a happy Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas and a happy Kwanzaa, and that you're looking forward to a great new year. This block is called Rising Star, and it is full of triangles, 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 triangles. And what all those triangles mean is that accuracy and precision will be very important to this block. This is not one that you can just run through the machine and la 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 la, and just relax and just sort of be at peace and not really think about anything as you're sewing. This one you definitely need to concentrate and focus on being precise and accurate as you sew and keeping all your seam allowances the same. And remembering to keep a scant 1/4 inch as you sew. And all of those things will be very important to getting all of these points to match up. This one is definitely one of the more difficult ones with all those points that have to be matched. This is a fabric match to month 3. So if you want to go back in your stash and pull out the fabric from month 3 and try to use it up first before you cut into this month's fabric, you can. The Fat Quarter Shop has definitely been very generous in making sure you have enough fabric to get this done and enough left over that you'll be able to make some nice project at the end. So I hope you enjoy this month, and I'll get started. So I finished month 7, Rising Star. It took me longer than I expected to get this video posted because I've been sick for a while. But I was well enough finally to be able to finish the video. So the piece is done, and it turned out really well. All of the points are nice and sharp. They all meet where they're supposed to. And it turned out really well. It definitely was because I paid really close attention to making sure that my seam allowances were all in the same spot so that I was very consistent and following the rest of the tips and tricks that I'm about to share with you. Another step that was extremely important in making sure that everything turns out correctly is that in the directions when you assemble your pieces together, make sure you measure at every step. So when you first assemble 2 blocks together, they should measure 4.5 inches wide. So take the time to stop and measure, make sure your 2 pieces measure 4.5. When you put 3 pieces together, it should be 6.5. When you assemble the whole thing down your other side, it should also be 6.5. So make sure that every time you assemble and do a step that you measure it and make sure it measures correctly. And that will also help ensure that your pieces turn out and that everything is aligned and your points all match up. Another little thing that I noticed was in the pattern on this step at the end of the first page, it told you to make 4 of, it called them cucumber half square triangles. That just meant a half square triangle that had the green pieces, these right here. And the directions said you could iron either way. I just personally found that I needed to iron them all to the white side to have your seams abut correctly when you assembled them so that they nested together and would sew together nicely. The only other tip I had for this month is that when you're sewing your 2 pieces together, whenever you had one that was the solid block versus your piece block, it does help keep everything just a little bit neater and tighter if you put your solid block on top. So when you go to sew them together, just have, when you have it folded over like this, just make sure that when you're sewing, it's the solid block that's on top instead of the piece block. There are times where you're sewing together 2 piece blocks, like say this one and this one, and then you don't have a choice. You just have to have the piece one on top. But when you do have a choice, it does help keep things just a little better if your solid piece is on top. Also, don't forget when you're finished to sew around your seams at the ends to keep it from unraveling while you're storing it for the next couple of months until it's time to assemble it. Thank you so much for joining me for month 7. I hope that you were able to find it helpful. If so, please consider following me, and I hope to see you next month and a lot sooner than this month. And hope everybody's having a great new year.